All right, welcome everyone. My name is Blair Boone-Migura. I am the founder and executive director of the Art Song Preservation Society of New York. And I'd like to welcome you today to this virtual Zoom masterclass, which is a part of our Season of Song Festival, which is being done all online for the very first time this year, thanks to the ongoing concerns of the coronavirus pandemic. Which has impacted everyone. Typically this has been part of a festival that happens at the Manhattan School of Music on the Upper West Side of New York, and it happens live. And so you all know we're now into this a year later, so I'm sure many of you this is not your first time singing, or if you're just an observer today, it's not your first time observing this type of event. But if it is, we welcome you. It will be painless, it will be fun, it will be inspirational, I'm quite sure, thanks to the wonderful talents and knowledge of our guest artists and the singers who will be performing today. I'd like to thank, first and foremost, obviously, our guest artist who has agreed to take part today. I've long wanted to have this genre of music on our program. It's the first time, so I'm so excited to be able to offer such an important and critical aspect of the art song repertoire into the mix here at the Art Song Preservation Society. I'd also like to thank our talented singers, because without the talent, we're nothing. So thank you for choosing ASPS to showcase your talents and to continue your learning. Thank you to anyone who has donated to make this possible today. I see some donations have come in, so we'd like to thank you for that. No amount is too small and no amount obviously too large should you choose to donate. And I'd like to also take a moment to thank two critical funders that make this festival possible, and that is this Season of Song Festival is made possible by the Creative Engagement Grant, which is a grant administered by LMCC in Manhattan, and it's for organizations like ours that provide opportunities for artists and help to expose communities in Manhattan to the arts. And we're also supported by the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone, which focuses specifically on arts, presentations, exhibitions, performances on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And it's important to note that because, again, normally this would be taking place at the Manhattan School of Music, which is located on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. But the wonderful thing that the pandemic did end up resulting in is in going virtual, we've been able to expand our presence, and now this has been made it possible for singers all over the world, as you'll hear today, perform on our festival. And it's made it possible for our guest artists not to have to travel to Manhattan. So what is it? With every lemon you make lemonade, and that's certainly what our organization and many organizations who have had to be nimble did this year. So before we begin, I just wanted to remind you that we are recording today, and that recording will be sent out to the singers, to the guest artists, to the observers today, so you will have a copy. So with that in mind, just please remain muted. Everyone, if you could remain muted until it's your turn to sing. That way, it's just the guest artist and the singer who's singing who are unmuted. At the end, we'll certainly unmute everyone. We can clap for the singers and for our guest artists. And I do want to ask that we make this as an engaging experience as possible. So if you're an observer and you want to, and you have a question, if it's during the singer's performance, then just drop into the comment box. I can, between singers, I can raise it with our guest artist, so that he is aware of the questions that are coming in. And at the end, I'll certainly unmute anyone so that you can ask your question. Also, before beginning, I just want to remind you that tomorrow, same time, we have another masterclass with the rising star mezzo-soprano Rayanne Bryce Davis. She's fantastic. If you haven't already heard her sing, she will be working with our singers tomorrow. So it's another opportunity to come hear some wonderful, a wonderful gifted artist work with wonderfully gifted singers. And then our last masterclass for this season, this spring season, will be in April on the 10th with Thomas Grubb. His name, his reputation precedes him. He's certainly one of the last greats in the area of French song repertoire. So we're so delighted to have him as a returning guest artist. And then in this summer, we'll begin a whole new season. So if you're a singer looking to continue working with us and working with our guest artists, please just look out or feel free to write to me personally, and I can give you a heads up of what's going on this summer, because we have a whole slate of masterclasses happening again online, hopefully for the last time. Then we can hopefully return to in person late after the summer. Okay, with that, we are ready to begin. I just want to again remind you can drop your comments into the box. I'd like to take a moment to welcome the guest artist today, who will be delighting us with his knowledge, his scholarship, his artistry, and that is Dr. Emery Stevens. You have his bio there in the program, the PDF program, but I'd just like to reserve or restrict my comments to the fact that he is a very versatile singer and teacher, having performed with Michigan Opera, the Michigan Philharmonic, the famed choreographer B.T. Jones, the Bill, sorry, Jones, and he has had an opportunity to work with singers in masterclass settings, and he himself has worked with some of the greats like Martina Arroyo and Phyllis Curtin and Nico Castel. And so with his vast experience both as a teacher and a singer, I'd like to welcome him wholeheartedly to the Art Song Preservation Society for our first ever art songs by African American composers, which is so critically important. He himself will get into why we don't want to separate this genre as something different, only reserved for perhaps people of color, because it's not. And the same way that you sing French and German music, you should be able to approach this music with an open heart, an open mind, ready to do the hard work that it takes to interpret it. And the last thing that I'll say before passing it over to our guest artist is that the poetry is so important. And I neglected to put the poets' names here, but I didn't take my eye off the prize. I plan on dropping in a link of all of the poetry so that as the singers do work with our guest artist today, you will have the opportunity. Just click on the link and you can go to the poem and you can follow along. So the poets are equally as important as the music. So the words will be dropped in the comment section of this and you can get that. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our esteemed guest artist, Dr. Emery Stevens today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Blair. My goodness, what a wonderful introduction. And thank you again for seating those poets as well for our discussion and our work today with the singers. I want to thank the Art Song Preservation Society, Blair, the board of directors, the advisory board, and the creative executive team for your gracious invitation. I am honored to be in the like of being invited to work with singers, and especially from Manhattan School of Music. By the way, I love your title, Season of Song, Dramatic Interpretation of Song Masterclass. And I want to sort of work on the dramatic interpretation, and that's why we're going to be looking at the texts that have been set by the composers as well with the singers. So just, I'll say, real quickly, I've been working on African-American art song literature since 2004. This came out of a doctoral seminar that I had with Dr. Caroline Helton at the University of Michigan. And I was the only African American in that course. I did a sort of presentation on spirituals and performance practice. And at the end of the presentation, I said to my colleagues, hey, this is some great repertoire that should be seated in the American music canon. And my colleague said, well, we can't sing that because we're not Black. And I thought, whoa, well, these composers who set this music, set these texts to music, really wanted this repertoire to be open. There's some selective spirituals that may be sort of very cautiously chosen to be representative of African American singing. Watch and Pray is one that is sort of from a sort of slave perspective. But the repertoire is so vast and there's so much of it that we have not actually seen it all. We were just discovering Florence Price's works after long time of being sort of found in an abandoned house. So anyway, this project is really near and dear to me, and especially now in our nation's time of reckoning with race. I think it's really important to sort of look at these texts, and some that are really specific to time periods, historical time periods of racial discussion in this country too, and discourse. And so anyway, that is I'll say more later, but I do want to hear the singers. Just want to leave you with 4 really things I want to sort of accomplish today, hopefully accomplish within our time period together. One is to examine the vital marriage between poetry and music. 2, to unpack the poetry to expand our interpretation as singing actors. The 3rd is to promote the rich legacy of African American composers. And the 4th is to discuss the music interpretation between a singer and pianist. So I'll be asking also the singers also. I know you may actually not have a live pianist because I know we're in the age of the pandemic, COVID. And so some of you may be using App Accompanist or already a pre-recorded track, and that's totally fine. We've been able to sort of move through this space right now and still be producing music. But we've had to learn how to produce it differently than what we've normally been accustomed to. So that's all I would say. If each of the singers could sort of basically introduce yourself and your selection for us, and we will have Blair said about 25 minutes. I want to try to leave some time for questions too with each singer, or things that you really want to sort of unpack during our time together. So that is all I will say right now. I could say a lot, but I'm going to silencio right now.
Okay, so we have our first singer. And if you could just say where you are singing from today, if each singer could do that, that would be great when you introduce yourselves.
I am Lisa Newill-Smith, and I'm singing from the north of Germany, right on the Baltic coast. And I will be singing I Grew a Rose by Florence Price.
Thank you.
Should I go ahead and get started?
Yes, please. Thank you, Lisa. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, great.
Should the
Great, Lisa. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I wish we all could be in the same, really in space, in the same room. So I know it's very it's kind of very hard to sort of communicate through the Zoom lens, but you did so very impressively, by the way, with your voice and also your expression, which I really appreciated. And so I just want to kind of go and sort of delve in here. Is this the first time? Is this new repertoire for you?
I actually recorded it 2 weeks ago for a competition.
Ah,
Yeah, for the George Shirley competition.
yes. Good.
But I kind of learned it last month, so it's relatively new. But
Okay.
I love her songs. They're just,
Luscious, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I call these sort of miniature opera scenes. Some of these composers really, well, they knew the opera form, and so they put that sort of full dramatic lyricism with almost like sort of miniature sections of the piece, really sort of delving deeply into the text. How did you find this piece? Were you sort of looking, researching, or was this given to you by a teacher?
No, so I have this blog of women composers, and I wanted to start looking into composers of color as well. And I found her symphonies and became immediately obsessed, and decided that I had to find, because my blog, what I try to do is we do like a live stream concert or do a recording, and then I write about the composer.
Hmm.
So I like finding composers that I can sing. And I found her. I got an anthology of her songs.
The 44 one that just came out a couple. Yeah. Art.
Yeah, the one from Glendower.
Yes, Glendower. Yep. Yes. Yes. And it's so great to have. First of all, a collection in the same space. That's the hardest thing about this repertoire is that, unfortunately, because of publishing and sort of restrictions in terms of a lot of composers of color not having access equally to sort of using the major publishing houses, they sometimes self promoted their works. Some of their works were found later after their death. And so that's the hardest thing. I think anyone really wanting to sing this repertoire has to be willing to research because you have to go to sometimes archives. Some things are not even published yet. I had to go out to, as a composer, Harold Bruce Forsyth. He did a lot of work with William Grant Still. He was around 1920s and 30s. Unfortunately, had to sort of give up his career, but he went to Juilliard, and all of his music, some beautiful art songs, and some other pieces, piano pieces, are in archive, basically unpublished, sitting in library archives. So yeah, so I'm glad that you actually found this piece specifically. Another question I would ask you. So what was your process? So we're going to talk a little bit about sort of how did you come, first of all, you found the piece. And so what was your process of learning the piece? Were you able to work with a pianist, live pianist, or?
Yeah, I am actually normally I have a live pianist. I live with one. My husband is a pianist.
Awesome. Yay, husband.
Yeah, he's currently wrangling the puppies. So, yeah, but we worked together because I kind of learned all 5 of the pieces for the competition relatively quickly. But I looked through, I basically got the Florence Price anthology and just kind of looked through all of them. And I just really liked this poem. I just find it both beautiful and sad, beautifully sad, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the music really kind of sells that, and
Mm-hmm.
under sort of at points where you would think, oh, this could be happy, then the music is too angsty, I think, for it to really ever be fully happy. And I really liked that.
Right, absolutely. So in terms of any imagery, so that does that for you within the poetry in terms of the rose, the bud, anything that sort of harkens back to the sadness, but also to sort of a nice state.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, it's gonna bloom, but then it's like I still feel like underneath there's still this sort of tension where it's like she's not necessarily happy, I think, even though she's like this is the thing that will make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I found that I really liked the poem, and then I just kind of, I guess we worked together on it a lot, and yeah, I worked on it with my teacher as well some. And
Awesome. Have you explored some colors to sort of shift dramatically? Vocal colors, vocal timbre?
yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I try to, but
Okay.
sometimes
I want to go back and if we could sing this again, sort of so we make that really dramatic, almost like a sonic change in timbre. And specifically, where do you think that actually happens in the piece? You can grab your music too if you need to.
I think I think it starts off a little like kind of unsure maybe, and then she gets excited like with at my rose began to open, and then she's like very the too late I think is like a big change there, and then the second
Exactly.
half I think is a little more desperate, I guess.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, in terms of the piece, are you thinking about three shifts dramatically?
I think so. Um, I think so, and then maybe like right when she sees the worm, so maybe four actually at the very end, because that's so
Exactly.
different from the rest of the piece. I mean, it's all of a sudden like here's a
Right. So I'm thinking so four. So four shifts. And then if you were to describe this piece using three words, what would they be?
I
That will
think
help.
sad,
Mm-hmm.
excited,
Yep.
and maybe tension,
Right.
because I think the whole time like there are some shifts, but I think the whole time there's this sort of back and forth a little bit.
Exactly. Almost like that ebb and flow of sort of like conflict that happens
Yeah,
dramatically.
I think I feel like it's a little bit like I sing Liu sometimes, and it's that same, oh, I want to, no, I can't. Oh, I want, and but she's the one holding her back. Rather, she's just like, oh, I can't let myself be fully happy because the rose is supposed to make her fully happy.
Right. What do you think that rose represents? If we were to have a contemporary sort of reading of this really great Paul Laurence Dunbar, and it's very interesting. It was like written in 1913. I love this because I get to be a lifelong learner and go back and look. But 1913, right? This was written, and he originally actually entitled it "Promise."
Huh.
Yeah, so that's a kind of another thing to sort of play around with here too. But so what's this bud representing? What's this growth spurt?
I kind of view it as like her kind of second chance, maybe.
Ah,
Sort of like, okay, my life's not going so great, but if I do this thing, then everything will be fine. And yeah, so I do think that it is also a rose. Like, I think she's really kind of, I'm going to grow a rose and
mm-hmm,
it's going to be perfect. And then everything in my life will go well.
mm-hmm.
So then when it doesn't go perfectly, then that's sort of like the end of the world.
Yes, yes. Are you disappointed at the end of the song?
Yeah,
Or
I think.
mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I think she's more distraught.
Distraught? Okay, we can use that as well. What's your positionality? Are you in terms of this is one of the things we get to do in song, right? It was really different than opera where you're given a character, you are creating or reimagining these texts. We are the vessels of the music. We're the storytellers. So are you sort of, what would be your character if you had a character to be given to this song?
Um,
Are you the narrator? Are you the
yeah,
son? That's
no, I think it's her. Like, I think she's telling, this is like her diary or something. I think a lot of times I sort of think of it as like the rose is the vaccine, and it's like, if
ooh,
I get the vaccine, everything will be great, and life will go back to normal. And I think that that's probably part of why I liked it too. I think it's like she's like, this one thing will fix it.
right.
I think, yeah. So I really think that it's her talking.
Yes. So you are the words basically. Yeah. Can we try it with the shifts?
Yeah.
So, do you remember them?
Yes. I think
Okay.
so.
Okay. And if you could think about this in terms of a color, a vocal timbre, to also make that sort of come a little bit more sonically for us too.
Yeah.
Does that make sense,
Yeah.
Lisa? Okay.
Is the sound okay?
Yeah, can everyone hear? I have this on my other speaker here, so I can. Is everyone?
Okay.
Yeah. I, I'm going to assume that everyone's hearing it the same level that I'm hearing it, so I'm hearing it quite well.
Okay.
Okay. Good.
Do you have a mic there, Lisa?
I do. Yeah, I have an external mic
Where is it placed there?
behind the laptop.
Okay. Can you go just a little closer to that, maybe? Just let me see what that sounds like.
It's always tricky because as soon as I sing a high note,
Oh, right. Got it. Got it. So yeah, if you need to adjust, but we can hear you. We're fine. We're
okay,
good.
good. As long as it doesn't blast too much.
It's beautiful.
Okay. Glory of its bloom.
Lisa, oh my goodness. So, pendulum, how did that feel now imbuing some more dramatic choices?
Yeah, it felt more like I had some more direction.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just, okay, I'm gonna sing it correctly.
Right. You have a more complete performance of this as well. You know, this is really, once you do this, actually, it sort of really goes to another level to a performance from just a straight reading to more specificity of what you're singing about and what's the different changes, the sonic changes, the textural shifts, the harmonic shifts also in the music. One of the things I just wanted just before, and I should be looking at my time here. What's my time, Blair? Somewhat.
Don't worry, I got you covered. I have I put the alarm on, so it will go off in, let's see, 4 minutes.
Okay, awesome, awesome. What's your favorite vowel, Lisa?
Ha. It changes.
Okay.
I like ah.
You like ah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to use ah.
I like ooh when it's lower, but ah for overall, I think.
Okay, can we just do just a little bit with ooh and ah? What I want to do, because there's a lot of sort of, again, the syllables too. So I grew a rose within a garden fair. So you're really keeping that sort of legato line very elastic, right? Because it could get, because when we start to, of course, we want to be able to be understood in terms of English diction. And the first time I sang a spiritual, by the way, I sang it like I was in English diction class. It was so precise, but it didn't have the elasticity of the language. So you want to really enjoy that vowel a little longer. So can we do that? Can we do the just maybe a page or two?
Yeah.
Uh,
One question.
yeah.
For hour and flower, how would you say that? Because I studied in England, and so I never really got that kind of American diction, and yeah, I feel like I'm kind of sometimes chewing on the R. But
I would do hour. So just a little bit after you, yeah, hour.
okay.
You don't have to do too much hour, but hour.
Yeah.
It will give you sort of like a little shadow. Yeah. And my diction coach is out here, Dr. Cheek. Would you say something toward that? Was that good? Okay, awesome. Okay. So Lisa, you want to try? Let's do the close and then open, and really sort of think about taffy. Can you just speak that for me? Just speak it and sort of elongate it, almost like you're an actor. I grew a rose within a garden fair.
I grew a rose within a garden fair.
Good.
And
Go on.
tending it with more than loving care.
And tending it with more than loving care. So really, almost lots of taffy.
And tending it with more than loving care.
Good. Go on.
I thought how with the glory of its bloom.
Good. I thought with it. So rather, I thought within. So you can put that T later.
I thought how with the glory of its bloom.
Good.
I should the darkness of my life illume.
Good. Awesome. Awesome. So if we were to just sing this on vowels, which we won't right now, but you want to keep the sort of the consonants, again, quick out of the way. Vowels, just really just enjoy that space. Can we do it now with singing it, just the two pages, and then we'll stop? So think long. Oops. Okay. And you can use your hands if you need to.
I grew a rose within a garden fair, and tending it
Excellent.
Thank you.
How different was that? Did you feel like you're basically riding tone with breath and a long expansive vowel?
Yeah.
How different was that? How did that feel for you?
Yeah, it felt less like, I think sometimes, especially in English and German, I get the consonants. I want to say all the consonants, and um, yeah, that makes it much easier to kind of get the vowels
And
sometimes.
exactly, and I totally get it. I totally, in terms of being, yeah, from you actually bilingual too, German and English, right? You
Yeah, I speak. I'm not. Wouldn't say bilingual, but
okay? Okay.
but yeah. So I speak German and sing a lot in German.
hmm
Um, and they're all about,
Oh
especially
yeah.
if you're not a German singer, your German has to be spot
hmm
on. So I think, and English, I think, is also a little bit the same. I feel like because it's how I speak, and I have to kind of say, okay, I need to not just say this how I would say it.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes.
No, understood. But oh my gosh, glorious sound. Because now we had that sort of long vowel, and we understood all the words, but we got more of this sort of luscious tone and the sort of balance of timbre too. So thank you. I think we have to move to the next singer, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Yes, I'm so sorry to have to cut you off. This was wonderful work. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so our next singer, Ron Wilbur, I'll be putting the text into the Dropbox. So, Ron, why don't you introduce yourself and let us know where you're singing from?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Stevens and the Society for this opportunity. My name is Ron Wilbur, and I live in Lexington, Kentucky. And I will be presenting to you today, Lovely, Dark, and Lonely One by H.T. Burleigh, poetry by Langston Hughes. Lovely, dark, and lonely one, lay your bosom to the golden sun. Do not be afraid of light. You are a child of night. Open wide your arms to life. Whirl in the wind of pain and strife. Face the world with the dark closed gate. Beat with tireless hands and wait. Lovely, dark, and lonely one, lay your bosom to the sun.
Great, Ron.
Thank you.
I know. I want to thank all singers who are using, I know, the pre-recorded and app companies. I know it's not the sort of the organic material that we love to sing with. So I appreciate. I still could hear your wonderful voice and the wonderful timbre within that voice as well. So can I just ask you, is this new piece for you as well? Or no?
No,
Oh,
actually,
awesome.
I've held on to this song for quite some time. I did it at my senior recital
Okay.
over I guess 8 years ago, and recently just worked it back into my repertoire, and I thought it would be perfect for such a time as this.
Absolutely. Has anything changed since the first singing reading of this for you? In light
Yeah, I
of
grew up, so that was kind of nice.
vocally, yes.
That was very nice. And just being able, like you said earlier, to find various colors and different timbres, and making sure that the story and the words and the emotion are invoked first, rather than being technique worried and things of that nature.
Yes. We love technique, but sometimes it's
Yes.
it takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of sort of patience as well with yourself.
Sure.
And also as singers, we're sort of, our voices are sort of like they're maturing and getting into. So I'm glad that you're able to sort of pick this up again,
Yes.
revisit this piece as well. What does this text mean to you in terms of, Langston Hughes, about him? What was your process about when you first learned it, or did you do any more further study about the context of this poem? Why Langston put these words to paper?
Yeah, I've always wondered, and then of course this year rolls around, and it kind of just makes sense. It's originally the poem is called Song, and it's definitely an encouragement, I think, especially to those who feel that they are less than, they are not worthy, they're not comparable rather, to their other counterparts. I just think it was a song that says to continue fighting, continue pushing, continue moving forward, and allow yourself to be confident in that, to stand in that. So I feel like a poem like this, it's one of those things where he is talking to himself, but also talking to others as well.
Almost like an autobiographical sort of sketch of, yeah. And something about that lovely, dark, and lonely one. So lovely, dark, first of all, being in love with being a darker hue, right? At the same point, being lonely because you're sort of always on the outskirts of, sort of the racial divide. And I'm sure for Langston, even though he was, prolific, right? He still had to deal with the ugly stain of race in this country.
Surely.
So what do you think, what else do you think he wanted to say through these words?
I feel like there's so much to be said. I think another notion besides encouragement, I would assume, I don't know, it's kind of one of those, I see you, you see me, we are talking to each other. So I know that there's a lot happening, but this conversation, this message, right? It is between you and I. It's kind of one of those moments, growing up in the Black church, it's if my mother's in the choir stand, someone else is making sure, the village is making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in the congregation. So maybe a little bit of a reprimand as along with directions, if you will. So I think there are a couple of nuances that play within this as well.
What do you think this do not be afraid of light, what does that represent?
Again, a myriad of things. It could be quite literal, right? Do not be afraid of stepping out into the sunshine to claim what is yours. Don't be afraid of a white person, I guess, if we want to put it that way. Do not be afraid of success. Don't be afraid of virtue. Don't be afraid of purity. Lots of things.
Right. So you can unpack that word, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then this whole thing of you who are a child of right. So reclaiming, right, their space.
Yes.
Opening wide your arms to life. What does that mean?
Embrace and take in all that belongs to you.
Yes.
You are living, you are worth it. And so in that grand scheme of things, embrace all that is coming to you, and all that is meant for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then he goes on, whirl in the wind of pain and strife.
Yeah.
We can actually take that literally right now.
We sure can. Yes. I agree.
Yeah. So kind of moving forward, even through pain and strife. And then what's the face the wall with the dark closed gate? Well, we can also resonate with that today, right?
Yes. I definitely think that is those obstacles that are in front of us, those things that would keep us from being confident in who we are as a people, especially as an individual. To look at it head on, to not deter or turn, or especially in this newfound confidence, be frightened to face those obstacles that would otherwise hinder us from enjoying and loving what our light is. And then I guess moving forward to that, it's you stay there until you get what you came for.
Right, exactly. And we know beat with tireless hands and wait. So what does that represent here for you?
Yeah, being patient, being persistent, and not relinquishing the power that you have, not relinquishing the force and the might and the abundance that comes with that. So continuing to move forward in that thought.
And then wait, lovely, dark and lonely one, bare your bosom to the sun.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that hopeful ending of the song?
I think so. I think so. I do think so. Especially when one doesn't believe that there is sun coming,
right.
or that being patient is going to be the answer. Hearing that and taking that to heart, bearing your bosom, just rising and making sure that you are connected, you are feeling, that upward direction, because the sun could also mean so many things. If it could be a spiritual faith thing as well. I think there are a lot of things that kind of go into that.
Absolutely. So now looking at the music, how do you see the music sort of supporting the text?
It's I do believe the way that Burleigh wrote it is definitely a narrative of sorts. I don't think it's meant to be sung as an aria, or it's a directive, and in that case, speaking directly to whomever will listen, and who will take heed to those words. And I think the song and the words build and invoke more emotion and passion throughout the piece. And especially towards the end, it kind of feels like, to me, it's a hug.
Yeah.
It's an embrace. It's like I know what this is, and I also feel like it's one of those, it talking from person to person. I don't necessarily think it can be used for a big scheme, for a lot of ears, but I think this is a personal conversation between one person and another. For sure.
Exactly. Great. Can we, and I know you have the...
It's okay. I turned the volume down because I didn't know if it would be overbearing. So I can turn it up a little bit more. We can see if that will work for us.
Oh, you mean for singing?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. So at the beginning here, so we have that the lonely, lovely, dark and lonely one. And then when I want to work on the face the wall, going up to the high arch there.
Sure.
So I don't know how we can start. Can you just start singing there without
Sure.
it? So this is the one toward the end.
Yes. Let me see if I can get that queued up for
Okay.
And strong Face the wall with a dark closed gate, beat with tireless hands and wait.
Good, good, good. Can we do that again?
Sure.
Same spot. And what I want you to do here, we're going to just do a little bit of sort of just, I want to get this sort of really sort of elastic, right?
Yes.
So pain and strive, face the wall. So really relax this area too. Elongate sort of that vowel presence. Can you just on ba, just going to do it on ba, legato
Sure.
ba.
Sure.
So same place?
Yes, sir.
Please, thank you. Yeah, right. So, so what did that sound like to you? What did that feel like?
It felt like I was not in control of it anymore, which is what that should be.
Right.
And it just kind of was soaring. It was just moving all the way through. Yes.
Exactly. So when on the ah too, make sure it's an Italian ah, so it's not but and this time or going to Can we do it again? This time, I want you to just slightly breathe through your nose too. So I want you to kind of open up more sort of resonance here.
Yes.
And still do that, please.
Yes, sir. Oops.
Yeah. Now go to text.
Sure. Face the wall with the dark closed gate, beat with tireless hands and wait.
Yeah, so you could connect that. So beat with tireless hands and so beat with tireless rather beat with again, just like we're working on Lisa too. With Lisa, just make sure that that consonants come down too soon.
Sure.
So beat with tireless hands and wait. So yeah. So you really want to let that sound go up there.
Yes.
Can we do that one more time? Pain and strive.
Yes.
So pain and strive.
Okay.
Pain and strive. Do that for me. Just sing that. Just say that.
Pain and strive.
That's right there. Sing right there.
You got it. Oh, too soon. Open wide your arms to life, whirl in the wind of pain and strife.
Go on.
Face the wall with a dark closed gate.
Breath in.
With tireless hands and wait. Wait, lovely dark and lonely you are.
All right, Ron, how did that feel?
Much better.
Yeah. I want to do the same thing on weight. So it doesn't get too. I remember being a young baritone too. I remember doing this. So you're not pulling back the sound here.
Yeah.
Wait. So just speak that for me. And
Sure. Wait.
and that's where you want to start. Wait versus wait, putting the weight on the sound.
Yes.
We want to take that weight off that sound because it's a glorious voice. And we want to get it more sort of out there in terms of that sort of wonderful sort of squealo.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. Can we try that one more time? Wait.
Of course.
Wait.
Lovely dark and lonely one, lay your bosom to the sun.
Excellent. So let's discuss. What's my timing? Should I be looking at the chat or something, Blair?
No, 5 minutes, and if you'd like, just as we move forward, I can always just drop you a 5-minute into the chat. Warning.
Okay, either or. All right, Ron, what did that feel like for you?
Very freeing, very open. Yeah, and in turn, it was even more, I guess, connected to breath, to my body, which I enjoy. And I know that.
I know you do.
In practice, of course.
Of course. I'm just here to remind. I have to remind myself the same thing as a singer.
Yes.
For many years. But so I always have to sort of remind myself to what to do too. So so I think sometimes we want to sort of overdo. So you just said, actually, which is great, this piece representing more of an autobiographical sketch from Langston.
Sure.
So if you could think about that, approaching the singing, even the beginning, we're going to do the beginning now, as you're having a conversation, not as a singer having a conversation, but more of a conversation where we actually put our speech, and intone it with
Yes.
Yeah. So we try that, just the beginning of this.
Of course.
And let's just check the sort of, just speak that first for me.
Sure. Lovely dark
Lovely one, dark and lonely one.
and lonely one.
There we go.
Lovely, bear your bosom to the golden sun.
On, right. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, enjoy that.
Lovely dark and lonely one, bear your bosom to the golden sun. Do not be afraid of light, you who are a child of night. Open wide your arms to life, well in the wind of rain and strife.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Thank you.
So really feeling that sort of connection, also moving into the sort of the headspace too.
Yes.
And so not starting too heavy on the bottom.
Sure.
That's why I really want you to sort of think about the natural speech position here.
Yes.
Can you go back, because I think we have like maybe 2 minutes, but can we go back to face the wall section?
Yes.
And can I have you do just one more thing?
Uh-huh.
I want to get a little bit more sort of deeper connection in terms of breath. And so if you can take us 3 small inhalations. So you can go face the wall. So you'll make sure you're really well seated
Sure.
in the breath department. Yeah.
Yeah.
And keep that releasing that sound too as you go to the high note.
You got it.
Give yourself some place to go.
Face the wall with the dark closed gate, lead with tireless hands and wait.
3 inhale breath in.
Lovely dark and lonely one, lay your bosom to the sun.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Thank you, Ron. It was
My
a
pleasure.
pleasure. Beautiful sound.
Thank you. Thank
And
you
I
so
hope
much.
that was very helpful.
Yes, it was. I appreciate
And
it.
use what you want, whatever works for you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ron.
Beautiful singing, Ron. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to our next singer. It's quite late for her, so we're going to get her singing and into bed.
Okay.
Madama, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us where you're singing from?
Yes. Hello. Thanks, Blair. I'm Elizabeth Madama, and I'm singing from Osimo, Italy. It's near Ancona, and for us in the music world, we know Ancona because it's the birthplace of Enrico Caruso.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I will be singing For You There Is No Song. It's the 3rd song in a 5-part song cycle by the composer H. Leslie Adams, with poetry by Edna St. Vincent Millay. For you there is no song, only the shaking of the voice that's meant to sing the sound of the strong voice breaking. Strange in my hand appears the pen, and yours broken. There are ink and tears on the page. Only the tears, only the tears.
Beautiful, Elizabeth. You prefer Elizabeth?
Yes, yes.
Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure. I have students that's like, Liz, I'm Liz, you know, so I just want to make sure I ask. Beautiful. Thank you so much for staying up late for this, and it's a pleasure hearing you sing. Tell me just a little bit about, this is the first time singing this piece?
Yeah, it's new repertoire.
Okay.
So I wanted to prepare it for this class, and I found it with on I was doing research and seeing what I could find online, because I don't have access to wonderful libraries and everything. Everything is closed at the
Right.
moment. So I found the song, and I started researching the poet also, and she's a very interesting woman.
Yes, she is.
And she passed away just before this cycle was written. The composer is still alive. So I thought that was a very interesting kind of mix, that,
Mhm.
and anyway, so I fell in love with the text, and also this, I really wish I had a pianist, because it's such a real duet.
It really is.
I love that play, and it's very French to me.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about the tradition of African American song, and how it's you have to explore this repertoire just like you do with French song and German lead.
Right.
And I really found that. I feel like it's so it draws on so many things, and that just makes it very beautiful and rich. So
Yes.
I would
And you
love to
love,
do the whole cycle.
yeah, exactly. Are you preparing to sing the whole cycle, or no, just,
I am now
oh,
that
awesome.
I
Yes.
found this and fallen in love with it for sure.
Oh, you should. You should. Yeah, you're so right. Again, all these composers have, again, they studied the Western canon, and some of them also studied with Nadia Boulanger and others. And so a lot of their writing is so intricate for, the styles, sort of French influenced, as well as sort of bringing in some jazz and blues sort of elements as well in pieces. So this is why I think they're really accessible to singers, especially undergraduate singers as well, because they're in English, and they have accessibility points because the music is sort of somewhat familiar within sort of a Western European tradition. So this is wonderful. So tell me a little bit about, so you've researched Edna in terms of the poet. What is your thinking about this text? I mean, I know she wrote it specifically for someone, didn't she? Right?
Oh, I didn't find
Yeah.
that in my research. I knew that she was
Yeah.
a Pulitzer Prize, and lived a very sort of controversial life.
Yes. She was very progressive.
Person. Yes, very progressive, feminist.
Yep.
And so to me, this is um, she being a writer, and actually a recognized and famous one, because she won the Pulitzer Prize. I love that she starts with saying, this is the voice that's meant to sing,
Right.
but it doesn't. And then she moves on to, there are ink and tears on the page, like she's struggling to say something,
Yes.
but she can't. And
Mm-hmm.
that lends the song definitely a certain mysterious quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Adams does so beautifully is create a sort of very French mysterious color,
Yes.
to match, her conflicted feelings about, what she can say and can't say,
Mm-hmm.
wants to say and can't say.
Yeah. How do we get that across as a singer? So is that sort of in terms of a hesitation of the text while we're singing? So even at the beginning, for you, even giving a little bit more emphasis for the you,
Mm-hmm.
there is no song.
Yeah.
So we can sort of emphasize you and song. Because again, what's the other important words here that we need to sort of bring out?
I think voice in both places, the shaking of the voice.
Right. So that could be a little color there. Only the shaking of the voice. We can create a little bit of sort of text painting there. We could do it in this repertoire as well.
And then she says voice again,
Mm-hmm.
the sound of a strong what? Oh, voice.
Voice.
Working.
And very interesting how Adams chose to put the voice a little lower there too, right?
I thought so too. Mm-hmm. And then moving on, I think I like that it starts with strange.
Mm-hmm.
Strange in my hands. It's not usually don't start a sentence with strange, so it kind of perks your interest.
Exactly.
Um,
Do you think about strange before you have to sing it? So we have that really long interlude too. If you can start transitioning into that space, because you're actually probably thinking here, strange in my hand, appears the pen.
yeah.
Yeah. So we almost like we're reading the poetry from your face and hearing those words articulated through tones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So strange in my hand.
Appears the pen and yours broken.
Mm-hmm.
There are ink and tears on the page.
Mm-hmm.
Only the tears. Only the tears. Only the tears have spoken.
Yeah. And Lagamente, you can just really take, of course, within the app accompanist world, as much as you can. Really enjoy that. And only the tears, if you can sort of bring out the tears,
Mm-hmm.
and then you say it again. You say it 3 times. So we have to sort of think about, again, when you say something 2 or more times, you have to think, okay, what's my motive between first? So the first one starts really high, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one and third, have you given thought to possibly what's the subtext for you while singing that?
The first one is that the first one is truly passionate, like the sort of like moment of, and they say in Italian, folie.
Folie, yes. Folie, folie.
And then only the tears, and then by the last one, there's sort of a reconciling of only the tears have spoken, not the voice, not the song, not the ink,
Right, the tears.
the tears.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So we can sort of incorporate all 3 of those. I think it will sort of really illuminate your performance too, because you have a beautiful voice. Now we're bringing all the sort of the colors to the rainbow in performance and sort of giving people a full picture. This is like 3 pages of majesty. It's a masterpiece, right? And now you get to sort of draw, paint, create what Leslie Adams is giving you, and Vincent, St. Vincent Millay's words as well. You want to try it again from the top? Before you start singing, for you, that short little introduction, where's your headspace there?
Well, this is where I'd love to have a partner pianist.
I know. What does that what does that represent? If we were to think about
I think it's sort of like
memory.
Like, yeah, memory, or if you're thinking and you're pacing around, because it's moving, it's dun 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 dun, dun people.
Yeah.
When they're thinking, and so I think it's the precursor to your thought.
Yeah, can we just do a little bit, just your pacing at the beginning?
Sure.
It's like, how do I say this? For you, there is no song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do it a cappella or
you can put, since it's short, you can play agitated.
For you, there is no song, only the shaking of the voice that's meant to sing, the sound of the strong Strange in my hand appears the pen, and yours broken. There are ink and tears on the page. Only the tears. Only the tears. Have spoken.
Yes, Elizabeth. So again, with art song, and especially now we're living in this such a visual. I always say that music is not just a sonic experience, but it's a visual one. And the art song, art song recitals now are taking different shapes too. You have people doing now imagery with projected titles. So giving us a little bit, this is not opera, definitely not opera, but definitely giving us something more to sort of enjoy or to connect with the music too. How did that feel for you? Did it feel like, oh, too much?
No,
Did it feel
it
just
was
right?
I was trying to incorporate all of your wonderful suggestions.
No, that's I know. It is so hard with these master classes, usually try to do it all in one. But yeah, just explore some of those things too. As we're
felt
going,
there was more picture to it, and that helped me.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, and if it helps you, it definitely helps the audience as well in receiving it.
Yeah.
What's the hardest vocal challenge to this piece for you?
I think that connecting. I mean, he's written in rests, so you have to do them, respect the music. But I think keeping the line going so that you understand the impetus of the words
Yes,
with the music. That is to me the most challenging thing.
right. So kind of maintaining that sustainu to the legato line.
Hmm.
Can we try something?
Sure.
Do you do the any lip trills or anything like that? Have you done
Yeah.
those?
Sure.
Can we do the only section, only the tears?
Mm-hmm. Let's see if I
So we
can.
just kind of get the, or you could do it on NG too. You could do,
I think I cued it. It's slightly the wrong place.
that's okay. You could do if you want to do the NG too. Hmm. Open mouth NG.
Okay.
And massage here a little bit too, Elizabeth too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, can we go back to strange in my hand, do that whole section? I'm going to do an exercise here. So we're going to do NG, strange in my hand, appears to pen, all NG, hum. And then we're going to go into text and yours broken. But we want to keep that sort of really pristine sort of focal point
Okay.
as we go back and forth from the NG.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So and the same thing we'll do. There are ink and tears on a page. That'll be NG, then go to words. So we alternate pretty much every 2 bars.
1 and 1. Okay.
Yeah. Just a little bit further back. There you go.
Appears the pen and yours broken.
NG. Text. Yeah. So first of all, what did that feel like?
Free.
Free. So that's what, yeah. And once you got that the high F, it really was there, right? You didn't have to work here. It was already positioned really well
Yeah.
for the sound to happen.
Yeah.
Can we do the beginning part? The same thing? And then we'll hopefully be able to do a whole reading of this.
Okay. Start with an NG and then 2 bars, 2 bars.
You got it. You got it. And really, again, when you're mapping the NG space, when you put the words back in, sort of try to remember where that spot is.
Yeah.
And you could be a little bit sort of wiggly, a little bit more. For right now, just use that. So there's lots of freedom.
Okay, good.
Elizabeth, can we start again?
Yeah.
So, like a gnat, G-N-A-T. So it's going to really feel forward.
Okay.
Yeah. Nasal resonance. We want to get that.
Only the shaking of the voice. Voice breaking. Keep going.
Yes, please. Thank you. And just think really tall here.
Appears the pen and yours broken.
That was excellent. Yeah. So you feeling like sort of where that is
Yeah.
when you going back in G and text,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then when you go to only and the onset is really nice. You could actually give a little bit more paggio there. Only the to rather than sort of a. It wasn't a glottal, but it was a sort of a. We could sort of soften that attack a little bit. Only the tears. It's only. So really enjoy that. Only the tears. Only the tears. Can we start from strange? And I will stop after that. I think I've given my time. Elizabeth, this is wonderful. Can't wait to hear the whole cycle.
Yeah. Thank you for your wonderful commentary.
You're welcome.
Appears. Oops. Wrong place.
There you go.
Appears the pen and yours broken. I like that shape better.
I'm sorry, gotta unmute myself. Yes. The shape and just really being able to sort of like, again, within the bar lines, just sort of, again, of course, with a live piano, it'd be easier, right, to do that. But even with the accompaniment, you can sort of think about ways that you could sort of still be as expressive that you would with a real piano. Even that's sort of kind of try the best you can. There's nothing like having a real live, a collaborative pianist with you. But it's wonderful. Any questions before we take a small break, like 5 minutes? Does everyone need a little brain break?
That sounds good. We can take a little short break if you'd like, and give our guest artist actually a chance to breathe. And I guess everyone a chance to maybe stand up, circle your neck, maybe rub your own jaw, zoom tension. And again, just thank you all for joining today. And I see some donations coming in. So again, thank you for donating to help us bring in wonderful, stellar artists like today's guest artist, Dr. Emery Stevens. So that's where those donations go. They help us to continue programming events like this. And it's interesting, you know, the pandemic also resulted in some new ideas percolating. I think once we are beyond this and can return to live events, we certainly want to continue offering some opportunities for virtual events, because I think not everyone can get out to the Upper West Side of Manhattan to an event. And so it has kind of made me realize that I want to, in the future, once we return to live events, offer opportunities to zoom in to see some of these events taking place, but also offer events where singers can also continue to participate virtually if they can't get to New York, or if our guest artists can't travel. This way, we kind of canvas every area. So I do think that coming out of this pandemic, it has allowed us to kind of be a little bit more forward thinking on how we're going to continue to make our program offerings to both singers and to the public. So that's some good news there. And I guess just to kind of give us a few more minutes of break for our guest artist, I will just offer my own little personal anecdote to this repertoire. It's interesting. My background, my earliest trainings came in the form of the French and German art song repertoire with a great teacher, one of the very best, Mary Truman, who was an English woman by birth, although much of her training and education came in France. And so anyway, when I began working on the spirituals for the first time and art songs by African-American composers, it was with her. And while she was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, this wasn't a repertoire that she had any familiarity with. So I too, I think in the beginning, much of my training was influenced by the Great Britain, by the UK. So I do think it's wonderful to have the opportunity to have a guest artist today who is able to offer us perspective on how to authentically portray some of this music in a manner stylistically that's in keeping with the spirit of the music. It's going to be very important. And so I think one of my questions, I think, for our guest artist, and we will have a Q&A today, so I encourage you, if you have questions of your own, is to go ahead and drop it into the comment box or to unmute yourselves at the appropriate time. But I definitely would like to discuss today ways of some of his ideas on how to authentically portray this music, get to the heart of it, to the core of it, and allow the characteristics and styles of this music to come to the surface and not be sort of blurred by maybe, English diction, for example, using the, I was singing African-American music with, as a Brit, I probably sounded like I came from a boys' choir in Britain. And so I do think it's important that maybe we touch on that today too.
Blair, do you want to do questions now, or do you want to just keep on going with the...
Why don't we, because I know, why don't we get through the next two singers, because I know the singers are probably a little antsy, but
Yes.
definitely want to allow for questions, because that's important too, to get the audience participation.
Exactly. Thank you.
So we have Gary Mitchell, our bass on the program now. So Gary, I'll drop your repertoire, your text rather, into the comment box. Why don't you introduce yourself, Gary, and tell us where you're singing from.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Gary Mitchell. I'm singing from Harlem, New York. My pianist is Edward Callahan, and I will be singing Till I Wake by H.T. Burleigh.
Thank you, Gary. Such a resonant tone. Yes. Thank you so much. Do you have a live pianist there with you, or no? Was that a recording?
We have a live pianist.
Oh, wow. Great. Because we'll talk a little bit about your collaboration as well. How you both conceived this performance. Is this a new piece for you? I'm asking everyone.
No. Well, this is my first time singing it publicly. I'm a pianist as well, and I played this. It was introduced to me in January of 2019 for a recital at Carnegie Hall. Actually, I played.
Wow.
I said I must sing this song, and
Was it for the? Sorry, was it for the Burleigh Society?
no,
Oh,
Harry Stars of Tomorrow. He did a concert at Carnegie, and I was one of the pianists.
wonderful, wonderful. This is a great. And did you have to transpose it down? Because
This is the original key, which was so wonderful because, as you know, a lot of things say bass, but they're really a baritone, a bass baritone. So no, this was the original key, and it was awesome.
awesome, awesome. So tell me a little bit about sort of your collaborative process, kind of unpacking this poem set to music. Anything that you gleaned from the actual poet as well, or musical idioms actually introduced through the accompaniment by Burleigh.
I would say more of the I glean more from the accompaniment, and there are so many musical directives in this song, so many instructions, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Those coupled with the text is very dramatic and almost mimetic. I think I think the accompaniment sounds like the text, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does actually. And sort of, how do you sort of weave sort of the lyrical line around the sort of the rich harmonies that Burleigh has set as a pianist? This is so great because you're a pianist and a singer.
Yes,
You have a double threat.
I hope so. Um, I imagine the vocal line as a cello solo intertwined with like a lush orchestral type of accompaniment.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. And what do you think your voice should? What is your voice acting as you're singing the lyrical line? Are you thinking more of cello, or are you thinking more of a flute? Not a flute.
Dude, I'm thinking
A bass flute, maybe.
perhaps, but I'm thinking more cello. I'm thinking about the bow on the string and the lyricism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how do we bring out this sort of lush lyricism in this piece?
Hopefully you can help me with that.
Okay, all right, all right. So in terms of your pianist, so we'll go through that again, but just did you have any sort of conversations about this with your pianist? Anything about the poet as well? You know, pseudonym. This was a pseudonym for a woman, Violet Nicholson, and I found this out. I was like, wow, I did not know that. Did you know that?
I did not. I researched it lightly. I knew that Burleigh was um, commissioned to set these songs by this poet, but I really didn't do any research on the actual poet.
Mm-hmm. Which was very fascinating. Just a little bit. She sort of lived in the British province in sort of India. She was married, and she sort of used a lot of imagery in her poetry and symbols, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. And she sort of was a romantic poet within the Edwardian sort of sphere. And her poems usually talk about loss and love, unrequited love. And following the death of her husband, she, to prostate, I think, operation, she had been prone to depression. So now this gives another level, right, of how she set these words to poetry, and then committed suicide by poisoning herself. And she died at 39. And this was way back in 1904 in India. So it just gives another, again, we get this sort of visualization. Okay, so what was she going through to pen these words? And then why was Burleigh interested in this poetry? What did he want to say through using this poetry? I'm just putting these words, putting these thoughts out there.
It's a very, to me, it's a very haunting sound. And then there's the pickety third at the end that makes it on a happy note. After all of this, it was kind of dark, and then last little bit is you see a bright light, I suppose.
Exactly.
Macabre.
Yeah. So sorry.
No, I was gonna say it's kind of macabre, and there's definitely a sadness and a longing. And it's like everything is okay.
So in terms of your interpretation, we'll go there now, but sort of how do you see this? How do you see these words resonating? How do you connect to them? What do you want to say with your voice through the words of the poet and the composer's pen? What's your thoughts? If you had three for your audience, if they're hearing this performance, what are three things you want them to come away with?
I want them to know that I love someone.
Okay.
I think I'm still in love with this person. And let me see the third thing. I'm going to have to think about that.
Okay.
I think there's sadness in this, within this love. There's some sort of sadness.
Yeah, and even at the beginning, when I am dying, lean over me. There's sort of this sort of, we don't know the situation of this, but think about the poet. Was this her sort of saying, sort of when she's dying, someone look over her husband who had passed before, sort of that, trying to get into that headspace. But I like that sort of like, so you in love with someone in terms of your interpretation, right? Still in love with that person, and maybe will ever always be in love with them after death. That could be the third one. I mean, that's just a suggestion. So now let's go to the music. So I want to get this into, can we do this on ba? I just want to open up, that's the wonderful resonance in your voice. We're just going to sing it on ba. Your pianist is there, so we'll just do maybe the first 3 pages. So you'll end up on When I Awake.
Okay. All on ba.
Yeah, so you're gonna do ba. So you're gonna hold it as though you're singing. We're just gonna just sing it on ba, just to open up that space.
Oh, fantastic.
So how did that help in terms of alignment of sound?
Oh, it helped a lot. So I was, but I sang it. I was trying to sing like the pianissimo and all of that type of thing, but that time I didn't really do much of that. But I love R. I wish I could sing every song on R. That would just, like in performance, I think that would be so wonderful.
Absolutely. And everyone has their favorite sort of space in terms of spatial vowel, but definitely Oz one of those. And if you think about this, I want to do this again with the text. Do you know where the position of the mic is with your pianist? Are we having a?
Is he too loud?
Yes, just a little. Do we agree? Just a little bit. So we want to get more of your voice.
Okay, yes. Is that better?
That's better. Yeah, that's better. Because then your voice is like boom. It's right there. So if we can we do the same thing from the beginning? But this time I want you to, every once in a while, especially when you breathe, think the ah space.
Okay.
And even before you start singing the first note, get your ah space there. Okay? Let's try from the beginning. Ah. Ah.
From the south, drop in the wind from the south.
You know.
Oh, I may, when I awake.
Yes.
If there be an awakening, if there be an awakening, so I may when I wake keep what lulled me to sleep, the touch of your lips, the touch of your lips, the touch of your lips on my mouth, the touch of your lips.
Wow. Okay, Gary. How'd that feel? Let's talk about that.
Thank you. It felt a lot more open, and a lot more legato, and a lot more lined up, linear, I would say.
Absolutely.
I think more consistent sound and all of that kind of thing.
And it's so hard also, for our lower singers. So sometimes we sort of orbit a little bit on the lower, because that's where our comfort level is, right? But if you're thinking about a little bit more space, a little bit more resonance, just sort of, if you would just pitch your nose and just release and see where that space is. So pitch your nose and then say something.
Pinch and then release.
Yeah, pitch and release, and then say, hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
There you go. Do it one more time.
Hi, how are you?
Exactly. Yeah. Can we do it from, because that's where I want to take it from, the ending of this. Be careful. There is it droop in the wind, right?
Yes.
Right. So more ooh in that space. And when wind, just allow your lips to wrap around that. Just do that for me on slide on up.
Yeah.
So try to keep the integrity of the vowel all the way up. And then you turn, and a turn over. Take a breath in.
Sorry about that.
That's right. So are you breathing before?
I'm not sure.
So let's check that first. So you're gonna take your breath in first. So you're gonna go, and then start. Better. Yes. So it's just it's almost like a big slide up.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to take the weight off. You don't have to do anything. Once you sort of start, the breath is gonna give you there. Try not to do this. Try not to go here. Squeeze it. Right. So just think. Okay, we'll take that. Yes. So now let's go to that. We have to stop soon, but let's go to So I May When I Wake, page 19, second system.
19.
Page 19. So I may wake. So I may when I wake. That's a tongue twister. Are you standing, Gary? Can you stand? Are you seated or standing? Standing? Awesome. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
So you get your breath in there.
So I may when I wake keep what lulled me to sleep, the touch of your lips, the touch of your lips, the touch of your lips on my mouth, the touch of your lips on my mouth.
Yes. So how did that feel?
lot better.
Yeah. Could you think about this? We have probably 1 minute, but on the approach, the touch of your lips. If you can think more line there, on the touch of your lips, keep your legato line there, because then that's easier to transition to the upper D. Well, I have a different score, but I have in terms of key, but going up to the high note there.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you do that with just that last part? This is the touch of your lips. And I want you to do a squeeze here before you sing. The touch. And so make sure the touch. So it's here versus the touch. Even if you're a bass, we still hear that wonderful richness, but we'll have more squeal on top.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm ready. The touch of your lips on my mouth. Was that better?
Yeah, on the mouth, mouth, and then put mouth. So that's ava right there at the beginning. Mouth. Yeah. Can you do it of my mouth? The last 3 pitches.
Yes. On my mouth.
There we go. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Cheek, for that. My diction coach from a long period of time. So thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that beautiful singing, Gary. Before we move on to our last singer, we actually have a question for you, Dr. Stevens. So we will take that right now. I'll actually unmute from a fellow voice teacher, Kali. I think she's still on with us. Judith, are you still there? Oh no, did she leave? Oh, looks like she left. I'm sorry. She had to leave and she had a question, but I think she had to go. So we will move on to our last singer.
And if you have her contact, I can always address a question that way.
I will share. I'll be sure to share in a follow-up.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, Alonso, why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know where you're singing from.
Hi, my name is Alonso Jordan Lopez, and I'm singing from the Lower East Side in Manhattan.
Yay.
And I will be singing Love Let the Wind Cry by Smith Moore. Can you hear me okay and everything?
Yes.
Wonderful. Love, let the wind cry on the dark mountain, taming the ash trees and the tall hemlocks with the great voice of thunderous legions. How I adore thee! Let the horse torrent in the blue canyon, murmuring mightily out of the gray mist of primal chaos, cease not proclaiming how I adore thee. Let the long rhythm of crunching rollers breaking and bursting on the white seaboard titan and tireless tell while the world stands how I adore thee. Love, let the clear call of the tree cricket breaking the creatures green as the young grass mark with his true but more than all sounds, surer, serener, fuller of passion and exaltation. Let the hushed whisper in thine own heart make. I adore thee.
Thank you, Alonso. Those ringing high notes in the tenor land.
Can you tell I love singing this?
I can tell you love singing this. So is this a new piece for you, or tell me a little bit about yeah.
Well, when Blair reached out and asked if I wanted to join, I jumped at the chance, and I had actually programmed Bright is the Place of Thy Soul by Robert Owens, but I wanted to expand my horizons, so I looked through the anthology, and I found this, and it really spoke to me, and so yeah, it's my first time learning it, and I love it.
Yeah, what spoke to you when did you hear a performance of this, or just looked at the music and then learned it, or?
Yeah, usually I try to not listen to. I try to find something like the words, and then like see what they say, and then I'm like, ooh, that sounds really beautiful, and then I go and listen to it. And so yeah, I saw the words and I saw how sweeping it looked, and I was like, I wonder if I can sing that. So I looked it up various performances, and I was kind of a little also, I wouldn't say nervous, but I was like, should I do this? A lot of sopranos sing this, but I think I love it just as much, so I think I can sing it too. But
Right.
um,
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, you can. Love is love is love is love is love.
yes, exactly. That's exactly what it means to me too. So
Mhm.
um,
So, in terms of the words, what do you know about Sappho, the Greek poet? This
yeah, it
ancient.
was tremendous how these words supposedly, I don't know if they had all the texts, but what they could find is this is what they were able to get from it. Carmen, Bliss Carmen, and then
Yes.
HT, HT Wharton.
Word.
But
Yes.
yeah, the words just like that they could be have been created thousands of years ago, and it just shows the universality of love.
Hmm.
And I just imagine this Greek goddess like singing with the wind blowing, but it can mean so many things, and there's a lot to this, I think, that also I found in it.
Hmm. Absolutely. And this was a dedicatory sort of that,
Yes.
yes, to a wedding.
Yeah, and so that spoke to me too because I got engaged recently.
Ah.
Thank you. And so it spoke to me in a way when I saw that it was written for that purpose. But what's incredible is that the person that it was dedicated to was a music director at the Abyssinian Church in Harlem. And I have a small connection because a friend of mine from undergrad has a role that she plays there as a director. I haven't spoken to her in years, but
Wow.
really incredible. Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's sort of these small little connections that really sort of like, how does that all come together? But here it is. And so what does this mean to you in terms of interpretation, being newly engaged or
yeah, recent like
recent?
October.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I think of this, there's two different ways I have taken it, and the way I've been most recently thinking about it as is like a search. Um, so there's a search for love in all of these different beautiful things in nature, and then finally the truth. It's in here, is what I have gotten from it. And the other way is, you go through all these obstacles, and really where it's the truest. Again, it's truth. It's about truth and love is from here, and then
Exactly.
spoken from here. But
Hmm.
everything else, love overrides all.
Absolutely. So when you sing "Love, Let the Wind Cry on the Dark Mountain," can you picture yourself somewhere? Like you said, you could picture Sappho being out there, but where are you? Let's put you in sort of an actor's place,
Okay.
spot.
Hmm.
Just create a character.
Okay.
So who are you? Where are you?
You want me to tell you?
Yeah, just we're gonna play here. We're doing imagination, which is
Definitely,
interpretation.
yeah. Actually, I like that because that's been my challenge with art song is finding the character, and the character really helps with, the colors like you were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah, and also I would say too, it sometimes helps technically, vocally,
Yeah.
because we get out of our head. Because sometimes we go into our lesson, we're thinking technique, 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 right? And then sometimes we're always singing with that sort of being the sort of forefront versus like, no, I've already done this. I already practiced this in the practice room. Now I get to sort of use the technique to tell the story.
Hmm.
Yeah. So who's the character you sort of created? And it can be
I
a
think
fiction
I
or
think it can be. I don't know if it's too vague right now, but it can be a man or a woman standing on a tall mountain overlooking a valley with a bunch of trees. And, when you're up very high in a high altitude place, the wind is just going around you. And so there's maybe a feeling of slight desperation but trust because of what you're singing about.
I like that. So you're on a tall mountain. You're sort of you're maybe the king of this kingdom, right?
Hmm.
Love, let the wind cry on the dark mountain, right?
Hmm.
Bending the ash tree and the tall hemlocks. So when you go to let the horse, when we go forward into that lower part,
Yeah.
so you want to keep your intensity there vocally. So it's lower in your register, but you don't want to fall out of your upper resonance there. Can we just do the opening of that?
Hmm.
Opening of it up to, let's go to, it's really hard to stop here. How I Adore Thee. So we'll go all the way up to before but more. So we'll do a first 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. So be careful of one of the intervals there at the, where was that? Page 63. How I adore the second one, thee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a.
Yeah.
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 Okay, I stay higher. Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Love, let the wind cry on the dark mountain, taming the ash trees and the tall hemlocks with the great voice of thunderous legions. How I adore thee. Let the horse torrent in the blue canyon, murmuring mightily out of the gray mist of primal chaos, cease not proclaiming how I adore thee. Let the long torrent in the blue canyon, murmuring mightily on the white sea, both Titan and tireless, tell while the world stands how I adore thee. Oh,
Yes. Yes. Resident high note.
Thank you.
So what I want to do, I want to just work on that lower part. Let the horse. So I want you to do wah 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 wah. So we create more space in there. Let the horse wah 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 wah. Just like the Peanuts character, the teacher.
Okay.
Wah 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 wah.
Wah, 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 wah.
So make sure wah wah wah. So put a little bit more twang in it. Wah 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 or wah wah wah.
Wah, 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 wah.
And let the breath carry it. You try to release it though. Wah wah versus wah wah wah. Try to release your air.
Wah, 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 wah.
Uh-huh.
Wah.
Now do wah 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 with a little bit more pucker on the lips. Wah 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 wah.
Wah, wah. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, it's really tricky because you have all this height, right? And then you have to go down. Can you start singing that? Can you just speak that text and rhythm?
Yeah.
But speak it in your regular, so you have a resident voice right there. But when we think about, especially if you're singing a little bit lower in our registration of the voice, you don't want to take the palate and sort of squish it. You want to think, but keep that palate as high as you would for your highest notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So wow. So really think about, just speak it though this time.
Let the horse torrent in the blue canyon, murmuring mightily out of the gray mist of primal chaos. Cease not proclaiming how I adore thee.
Yes, how I adore thee. You're going to give us a little bit more. Oh, how I adore thee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cease not proclaiming how I adore thee.
Yes.
Let the long torrent in the blue let the long rhythm.
Rhythm of crunching. I have to remember that too.
These words. Let the long rhythm of crunching rollers breaking and bursting on the white seaboard, titan and tireless, tell while the world stands how I adore thee.
Yes. Now can you keep it connected? Let the long rhythm of crunching rollers. Almost like you're gonna still sing it, but we're just speaking on pitch.
Let the long rhythm of crunching rollers breaking and bursting on the white seaboard, titan and tireless, tell while the world stands how I adore thee.
Yes. Now, can you give yourself a pitch there? Do you have a?
Yeah, I have a piano. Yeah.
Can you do the let the horse? We're gonna do the first one,
Yeah.
and just speak it right now. Just do it. Let the horse. Let the horse. Let the horse. Let the horse.
Let the horse. Let the horse. Let the horse torrent in.
So now you're bringing it down just a little bit. So so let the horse. Let the horse. Let the horse. Think about this being versus singing down to the low. Let the horse.
Let the horse. Let the horse torrent in the blue canyon, murmuring mightily out of the gray mist of primal chaos. Cease not proclaiming how I adore thee.
Okay, good. Now we're going to take a little bit of excessive air.
Yeah,
So you're giving too much air to the tone. So I really want you to really speak on pitch, not sing so much at the lower part of your voice. So it's going to be like this, almost like you're a ventriloquist. Let the horse. So if I do that, I'm opening up my throat and more air is coming out than tone. So you're gonna be like this. Let the horse. Just do that for me. A little bit more lift here. Let the horse.
Let the horse torrent in the blue canyon, murmuring mightily out of the gray mist of primal chaos. Cease not proclaiming how I adore thee.
Good. That got better on the lower one. So again, you want to sort of center la versus la. So it's too wide. Let the horse. Just do that. Let the horse.
La, 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 la. Let the horse torrent in the blue canyon, murmuring mightily.
Okay, good. Can we start again? So this time, tell me about your support. so I want you to bring. I want your subglottal support. So I want you to do sort of again 3 inhale breath. We're gonna go. Let the horse. And I want you to keep that, maintain that sort of support.
Okay. Let the horse torrent in the blue canyon, murmuring mightily out of the gray mist of primal chaos.
Inhale.
Cease not proclaiming how I adore thee.
Go on. 3 inhale breath.
Let the long rhythm of crunching rollers breaking and bursting on the white seaboard titan and tireless tell while the world stands how I adore thee. Love, let
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes. So your support needs to support your tone, especially the lower part.
Yeah.
Even more so.
It's so crazy because, I guess sometimes tenors are like so focused on the high notes.
Of course you are. That's your money note.
But then it's like the regard and the perception of what the low notes needs to feel like is just not there. And so it's like almost like the high notes because it sounded like I was not making any noise at all. It felt to me and it sounded in my head on the low notes.
Exactly. Yeah.
The high notes.
Right. And they still have to be really well supported and intense. The same thing about, when some people are singing softly and people think that they could sort of under support. No, you have to sing. One of my colleagues at the University of Michigan, energized soft, Caroline Helton. So you still have to have the intensity of tone with that breath connection. Can we now do that at the beginning with the music? I know we don't have a lot of time, probably 3 minutes, Blair.
Is it okay that I do the?
Yes. Can you do it? And you have to kind of try to find time to do it. The 3 inhale just gets you, sort of connected to a lower abdominal support. Ideally, you want to go to that 3rd level in one breath. Yes. And you want to feel right at the belt buckle. So you're really going to really release that. This is the lower belly support. So we definitely have this, but you want to make sure that the breath still releases. Okay. Yeah. Breathing all the way down to the pelvic bone.
Yeah, actually, that's a good thing because I've been working a lot on my body and recently started doing more pelvic work, like just loosening it up.
Yes. Yep. And even if you want to do at the beginning, so you're actually releasing the hips and anything that's holding the sound.
Okay. Love, let the wind cry on the dark mountain, bend bending the ash trees and the tall hemlocks with the gray mist of briny giant. How I adore thee. Let the hoarse torrent in the blue canyon murmuring mightily out of the gray mist of primal chaos cease not proclaiming how I adore thee. Let the long rhythm of crunching rollers breaking and bursting on the white seaboard titan and tireless tell the world stands how I adore thee. Love, let the clear call of the tree cricket, frailest of creatures, green as the young grass, mark with his trilling resonant bell note how I adore thee. But more than all sounds, surer, serener, full of passion and exaltation, let the hushed whisper in thine own heart say, I adore thee. It felt so good.
It sounded so good. Awesome, Alonso.
Thank you.
Yeah, just keeping that sound. And did it feel like you had to work harder for the lower notes this time?
No, actually, no. I mean, this is the one thing I was like, should I really do this because of those low notes?
No, you should.
And so this is such a great tool and such a great thing that I can use to work on that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Alonso. And just be careful. I'm sorry, just one little thing. Heart say, just check that interval.
Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. Sometimes it's like, there's a lot in this piece.
Yes.
Just that last time it went.
Oh,
So
no,
do
it's
that. Say,
yeah.
heart say. Yeah. Awesome. This sounds so great in your voice. I hope are you going to be able to sing this for somebody? Like a performance?
The first chance I get, I will.
Are you doing the George Shirley competition?
I think I'm too old for that.
Don't they have a, Dr. Cheek, don't they have a, now it's a, I don't know, what's the age now? I think they expanded it.
Yeah, I can't remember. Just recheck the site.
Recheck the site because they added last year or the year before, I think, a professional or what's it called? Division.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so check the site again.
Great, I will. Thank you.
You don't look as old as you look like I don't know how old, but
I guess that's a blessing, but yeah, I'm 34.
okay. No, I think it's now past that. Yeah. Check the site.
I will. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alonso. I'm sorry we went over a little bit, but
Oh, no problem. Alonso, that probably is going to be too much to ask, but you may want to gift this on your wedding day and sing it because you have such a beautiful voice and a beautiful interpretation. So that's a great wedding gift.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought too. Sing it on your wedding.
Sing it at your wedding. It would be
you should.
So he's not in here, so
Yes.
You should still sing it.
I don't know. It'll be a surprise.
Oh, awesome.
Good.
I love it.
Well, thank you, Alonso. Thank you, singers, all of you. You were brilliant today. And of course, who was truly brilliant was the wonderful Dr. Emery Stevens. Thank you so very much. My heart is full after watching today's class. It's truly full. I feel like it's a gift to myself, to the public, to the singers. So thank you, Emery. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for the invitation and to work with so many wonderful singers.
So, do we have any questions? We have a little time, and I want to see if we can get, sadly, Dr. Judith Nicosia had to sign off, so she didn't get to ask her question, but I'll make sure to connect the two of you so that she can ask the question that she had. But does anyone else have any questions? You can unmute yourselves at this point.
Yes, this is Grace Hackett. Thank you so much to the singers, and thank you also, Dr. Stevens. Is it possible for you to speak a little bit about the nasal, the ba, as you engage the ba and the NG to help singers in that soft palate area? Thank you.
This is something I use a lot, and for my own singing, as well as when I was taught as well, sort of how to approach the upper part of the voice. And most times, as a young singer, I sang back. So it's all about throat muscle, right?
Right.
And something about, I was actually somewhat sort of taken back. I thought, oh, your voice is too pointed. Put it back here. That's where the baritones, that's where it should live, down back there. So by taking that pressure off, the intonation and the squealo, the sort of the vibration, is cleaner. And it just goes there. I don't have to sort of muscle anything when I'm in that space. So I use a lot of the NG, the ba, open vowels. Sometimes I use an O closed vowel and go to open. So they don't use a lot of air at the beginning, so they don't lose a lot. But and slowly open up that sound. But it keeps the voice vibrant.
Yes.
And you can still be expressive, but you're not working. You're just allowing the natural resonators to be in play.
Beautiful. Yeah, and thank you also for the ventriloquist concept in the low, in the low part of the voice. That
Right.
was really, yeah.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Grace. Anyone else? Any other questions from the singers?
Emery, I had a question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that the first time you sang a spiritual, it was with very, very proper diction. And I wonder why you did that. Was it because you were in a university and that's just what happens?
Yes, I mean, so I grew up in sort of a Church of God in Christ first, and then I was in a Baptist church, a United Methodist. So I came from a gospel background. But then I started studying, in sort of university college program. And we had, that was not a college, there was another diction class I had in undergraduate. And that was my first experience singing a solo arrangement for performance. And I thought in order to be a classically trained singer, I had to do it with that impeccable diction that took it into almost like a book smart place versus a very folk spiritual, you know what I mean? It was less fluid because I was trying to make the sound so precise and they needed to breathe more. So I just did that because I thought, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do as a classical singer. I just, I didn't really know about the style. I didn't know how, so I could still sing the style of a spiritual, still have a concept of English diction in terms of, diction classes, but at the same point to allow that diction to be more fluid. And I took the earlier, I was like, no, it has to be just like that. And it didn't flow until I realized, oh, this is the way I have to approach this. That's a great question.
So, I don't think that's so unusual because if you listen to the great spiritual concert that Jesse Norman and Kathleen Battle did, it's such precise and perfect diction in many ways. It's perfect.
Right.
But it happens to your wonderful point, also they allow it to relax at certain points.
Right. And I wasn't relaxing at all. See, the big thing was I was not relaxing it. So, and definitely the concert spirituals are for, primarily classically trained singers. So they do already have that discipline. But within that discipline, we can allow space for the music to have more fluidity. That makes sense?
Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Okay.
That's great the way you put that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. It's good to see you.
Great to see you. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Any other questions, perhaps from the audience or from the singers, even from today, from your repertoire?
I have a question from what you just said, Blair, following on from the diction. The Jessie Norman's a great example, and she sang these songs in large spaces, big concert halls and all those things. And so do you think that makes a difference? Dr. Stevens, that if you're in a larger space, the diction has to be, let's say, less casual than if you were in an intimate sort of salon type setting. You can play with the text more, kind of like jazz singers, in a jazz club, they have the intimacy out there, and that you lose that if you're in a big concert hall. You have to get your point. I don't know what your thoughts are, if there's a difference or how true to be to the style.
Right. That's a great question, Elizabeth, too. So it is situational. So I know sometimes people will do, let's say in church, they'll sing a spiritual arrangement that's mic'd. So, so that's a different sort of scenario than a concert hall that seats 500, folks or more. So it does have to be still a point of English diction for understandability of the text. At the same point, attaching the style, especially when you're working with dialect. So dialect is all about the relaxation. That's what I wasn't doing. I was singing the English words as though they were American, sort of traditional Ives or Copeland, and not realizing that the dialect has that sort of relaxed ending. So wasn't it versus wasn't it, with the final teeth, explosive teeth. So wasn't it. So yes, it definitely depends on the situation, especially also sometimes if you're doing a concert with a pianist versus like the concert that Kathleen and Jessie did. There were some orchestral arrangements, so your voice has to speak differently through that sound, through the orchestral sound. Does that answer your question?
We have another question from, let's see, any ideas about getting repertoire online? Any interesting repertoire other than IMSLP?
I know that this is a great question. They have been doing a lot more production, and I know Glenn Dower. Anyone use Glenn Dower? Classical vocal reprints. Thank God for Glenn Dower. And they have been putting out, of course, now that a lot of colleges and conservatories and schools of music are now centering this repertoire in the canon. There's a little bit more accessibility. I know there's also the African American Diaspora Music Project that Dr. Louise Toppin has put. It's a website, and it's a great resource for finding rep from a variety of composers. I think also she puts in there the range, of the selections too. So of the piece of the works. So people have a sense of, I can sing this as a mezzo soprano. I can sing this as a high tenor. That's a great resource. Another resource, and I will give these all to Blair. Maybe we can send a little link out. Some of you already probably know some of these folks' websites.
Actually, great. I send a follow-up to this with the recording. So if you want to get that to me, Emery, I'll make sure to include that in the follow-up email that goes out to everyone.
Okay. And then the African American Art Song Alliance, Dr. Darryl Taylor. He has his alliance, and there's also some wonderful opportunities so you can see some of the performances from his conference that happens every 5 years. I think it's coming up next year, 2022, where it brings together living composers of this repertoire with singers and scholars. And it's usually a full week or 4-day conference, and there's live performances of this. So it's this happens at University of California in Irvine. And I was out there in, I think, 2007 doing a presentation. But it's a great resource, again, to meet people, meet the composers. It's life-changing. Another place you can also think about, blanking right here about repertoire, I can send it to you.
Okay.
A lot of, actually, it says Sean, I'm going to mess his name up. Pueblo, is that right? He's a contemporary composer. A lot of composers actually are self-producing, their work and self-publishing that. I mean, you know what I mean? I contact a composer, not J.W. Pepper or Hal Leonard. I contact the composer directly. And some of the composers are listing on I think it's the American Composers Alliance. I'll also send a link, and that's where you'll see a lot of contemporary composers, and also some who are not as contemporary. They're older composers, but they're actually putting their works there, and you can purchase download scores from that site. So I'll put these all with that link with Blair.
Thank you.
It's really hard. I wish it was like one central place, but I do know Glendower is actually, he does have a lot of the Florence Price anthologies there. There's a new anthology of Margaret Bond's pieces as well that just came out, and the editor is Louise Toppin at the University of Michigan. So anyway, there's some exciting things, and there's more music coming. A lot of composers are now on fire, and I think because, not literally on fire, but a fire of like creating more pieces to be seated in the American music canon. Just like we seat our representatives and senators, we need to seat this repertoire equally, not as a specialty, but equal in the canon.
So true. Thank you for saying that. And another thing, the great German singer-interpreter Lotte Lehmann used to say that an interpreter has to be both young and old, ugly and beautiful, meaning that regardless of what you look like on the outside, that, if you're going to sing Der Tod und das Mädchen or Der König, you've got to be the father and the son and death, or death and the maiden. Or in Fidele la du Parc, you're sitting there, you're a man singing about Fidele being asleep, but a woman sings Fidele just as beautifully rather. So with that in mind, how would you suggest, this could be a sensitive topic, but a Caucasian singer or even a singer of another race, an Asian singer, sing a spiritual?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. So spiritual. Okay. So the spirituals, and I always have to preface this, right? Yeah. That we have the folk spirituals that were sung by the enslaved Africans. Those are quite different than our art song arrangements of the spirituals. Yes. And sometimes people get that. I did this survey back in 2004 about these same things, about the approaching of this repertoire from singers, non-Black singers, basically. Uh-huh. And some of the reluctance was, I don't have permission, singing spirituals, you have dialect, should I be doing that? The history of minstrelsy in this country, race relations in this country. I feel that this repertoire should only be sung by some of the respondents of the survey. And then there are a lot of people who really wanted to approach singing the spirituals, but wanted to have permission and how to do that. And so, I think that the repertoire is open. Now, the hard part is doing that work, that inner work of sort of knowing the context, working just like you would in Italian or French or German or Czech. In terms of diction, you have to study dialect, which is a diction. for the spiritual, for spiritual leader. So in that same vein is sort of like learning that, plus just having more of a understanding of the reason. I have this wonderful chart that's talks about the characteristics of the spirituals or categories. So the spirituals there's forms. I mean, song forms, call and response, and through compose. But at the same point, there was functionality. So spirituals that suggested water, wade in the water, or anything like that, of movement, or get on board, little children. Any of that is suggesting sort of knowing the context. These spirituals had coded meanings. And so you have to do a little bit of that work too. You can't just like, oh, I want to sing a spiritual. It's like, not do that work, because then, and that came up in the survey, people felt that they were appropriating versus appreciating the music because they didn't approach it with context.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely open. There are a couple of ones. I think it's Watch and Pray. Gosh, not Undine Smith Moore. Oh gosh, I think it's Undine Smith. Don't quote me.
That's by Undine Smith Moore.
That's what I thought. Yeah, Watch and Pray is very tricky across. I call it crossing the color barrier, because it's a slave narrative about a mother and child during slavery. And that's one of the things that, could you be a narrator telling the story of this? And I think this is where we have to educate the audiences. If someone's going to be very brave to approach Watch and Pray, you guys look up Watch and Pray, Undine Smith Moore. I'll put it in the chat, Watch and Pray. Oops. Can you do that for me? Oh,
yes, I'll do that.
Okay. As I'm finishing my thought, I can't do too many things at once. So Watch and Pray is really tricky because, I don't know, you have to ask permission, or you just have to let the audience know, because is Master going to sell us tomorrow being sung by a white person? If the audience doesn't know your intention, and why you're singing it, it becomes sort of like, oh, they're not even respectful. They're just going to sing this without letting us know why they're singing it. So that's tricky. I probably wouldn't go there. There's a lot of spirituals that you don't have to, there's tons of them. So maybe hands off of that one. We can even talk about I Too Sing America. So I remember Thomas Hampson was telling me the other day, he said, I don't know, should I sing I Too Sing America, I Am the Darker Brother? Everyone know Thomas Hampson, right? In the house.
Of course.
Yeah. And he said, should I be singing this? And but as a singer, and we talk about this as sort of, we're inhabiting the space of that poetry. So as long as the audience knows, as long as you're comfortable with that, you could sing that. But again, that's one of those things I think I would probably say something or put a program note in and really explain why you're doing it. So it doesn't come across as sort of being disrespectful.
Right. I think, it's so important as we talk about this, I'm aware that that's actually the key component, is continuing these dialogues with people like, Dr. Stevens, because it's through dialogue with specialists, they help to give insight and shape how we can introduce this repertoire in a respectful way. But I think it goes to in the end, there are going to be individual songs that maybe are best left. The same way we accept that there are some songs that we do just accept. Historically, this will be for the male voice, or this will be for the female voice, even though overall, for the bulk, we understand that there is also overlap.
Mm-hmm. I would say too, just a last thing is, you can do a positionality sort of, sometimes it could be, if you want do a performance as narrator. So you're not the person, but you're narrating. That's a wonderful way in that protects both you as the performer.
Right.
At the same point, you are the vessel for the music, basically.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's great. That's a great takeaway. And so on that note, we've hit our 3-hour mark. So I not only have to once again thank our wonderful guest artist, Dr. Stevens, and the beautiful singers, but I have to thank you, the audience who stood in there for the 3 hours. I release you all into your evenings or your afternoons or your day. But thank you again, Dr. Stevens. This was beautiful. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Blair, and thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and please reach out if reachable. Blair has my digits and my contact.
Excellent. Thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow for Ray and Bryce Davis, working on dramatic interpretation, and again in April with Thomas Grubb for the French song, of course, author of Singing in French, the great Thomas Grubb. Thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you at a future event. Bye-bye. Have a good
Thank you, singers. Awesome. Bye.